At first glance, that dog looks like an ordinary dog, but she's not. Her name is Amy and she's a service dog, and she helps her owner manage his diabetes. According to the American Humane Association U.S. Pet, Cat, and Dog Population Sheet, 20,000 Americans have service dogs. The first school for seeing eye dogs was opened in 1929, and since then, service dogs have branched out to 8 other disabilities beginning in the 1970s. The U.S. Department of Justice in their Americans with Disabilities Act defines a service animal as dogs that are individually trained to do work or perform tasks for people with disabilities. These dogs are able to aid many disabilities, from treating people with seizures, people who are deaf, people with mental illness, and people with autism. But today, we're going to talk about the use of service dogs to treat PTSD, diabetes, and blindness. In 2009, Associate Professor in Residence at UCSF School of Medicine, Karen Shaw, MD, recognized that 40% of Iraq and Afghanistan veterans in the last 6 years were diagnosed with PTSD. 60% were still diagnosed within or after standard treatments, calling for the use of an adjunctive treatment. Which is how service dogs started being used for PTSD. They're trained to interrupt anxiety and panic attacks and to guide their owners away from stressful situations. They're also able to remind owners to take medications. But veterans are not the only people who live with PTSD. Americans every day suffer from child abuse, sexual abuse, physical and sexual assault, accidents, and natural disasters, which can cause PTSD. A study by Yount, Omer, and Lee, published in the U.S. Army Medical Department Journal in 2012, found that service dog training... I totally screwed up. Bad.
So go back to your screw up. This is your run through. So go back to your where the place where you screwed up and start over. That's why you're doing a run through.
Mm-hmm.
Were your cards out of order? What was your mistake?
My mistake is that my citation on here sucks. Oh, and I forgot to tell you, I'm not even cueing you. Okay, go. And go again. Okay. I'm sorry, I screwed up. Oh, I wish I could read that. That's good. That would help. Alright, a study by Yount, Omer, and Lee, published in the U.S. Army Medical Department Journal in 2012, titled Service Dog Training Program for Treatment of PTSD in Service Members, found that there were many physical, psychological, and emotional benefits. The physical benefits included better sleep, a decreased startle response, and a decrease in pain medications. The psychological benefits included increased patience and emotional regulation, increased assertiveness skills, better parenting and family dynamics, and fewer war stories with more in-the-moment thinking. The emotional benefits included decreased depression and stress, which was measured by cardiac reactivity and cortisol, a decrease in emotional numbness, an increased sense of purpose and belongingness. So how does it work? In 2003, Odendahl and Minchis, in the same study of the Army Medical Department Journal, found that affiliative behavior between a human and dog resulted in the change of neurohormones. These changes included increases in beta endorphin, oxytocin, prolactin, and dopamine, with decreases in cortisol, which causes stress. Oxytocin levels doubled. Oxytocin modulates symptoms important in the psychopathology of PTSD, including anxiety, fear response, hyperarousal, social isolation, pain, and sleep disturbances. And How Dogs Can Help Veterans Overcome PTSD, published in July 2012 edition of the Smithsonian Magazine, Meg Daly at Warrior Canine Connection said, oxytocin improves trust, the capability to interpret facial expressions, the overcoming of paranoia and other prosocial effects, the opposite of PTSD symptoms. Service dogs are also used to treat diabetes. Data released in the 2011 by the American Diabetes Association recognized that 26 million Americans live with diabetes. According to eye-opening stats in the U.S. Vision Laws, published by Review of Optometry, Volume 149, Issue 7, trends indicate that by 2050, 1 in 3 Americans will have diabetes. Continuous glucose monitors are often inaccurate, and many people suffer from hypoglycemic unawareness. This results in the need for an adjunctive treatment, which is the service dogs. According to Rooney, Morant, and Guest, published by PLOS One, Volume 8, Issue 8, found that decreased levels of A1C resulted in decreased risk of subsequent diseases, and service dogs could reduce that A1C level. According to the American Diabetes Association's fact sheet, data from 2011 showed the subsequent diseases of diabetes included heart disease, stroke, hypertension, blindness, kidney disease, neuropathy, amputation, and diabetic ketoacidosis. Diabetic alert dog is able to alert the owner for episodes of extreme blood sugar levels. Decreased hypoglycemia can decrease the risk of seizure, developmental delay, and also death. The psychological benefits are that owners have decreased anxiety. According to the economic cost of diabetes in the U.S. in 2012, also published by the American Diabetes Association, $76 billion are spent in hospital inpatient care for diabetes, with another $69 billion in indirect costs, including loss of productivity and unemployment due to early mortality. So how does it work? Diabetic alert dogs have a physiological benefit. The human body, according to Diabetic Alert Dogs of America, FAQs, is made of carbon compounds. While humans are unable to sense these carbon compounds, the service dogs are able to smell the changes in them. Environmentally, diabetic alert dogs are able to retrieve emergent supplies and navigate the environment to when the owner is not able to, from high or low blood sugars. According to Mark Ostermeyer in History of Guide Dog Use by Vets, published in Military Medicine, Volume 175, Issue 8 in 2010, there are 165,000 blind or visually impaired veterans, with 7,000 being diagnosed every year. But veterans are not the only ones who live with vision disabilities. According to eye-opening stats in U.S. Vision Laws, published by Review of Optometry, Volume 149, Issue 7, there's been a 25% increase in age-related macular degeneration, a 19% increase in cataracts, a 22% increase in open-angle glaucoma, and an 89% increase in diabetic retinopathy. Service dogs are able to combat a lot of the struggles that people living with vision loss endure. There are physical benefits, including increased mobility, the ability to navigate through obstacles, and the capability to save time. Psychologically, people with seeing eye dogs benefit from increased safety, increased security, and decreased anxiety. Emotionally, these service dogs often act as icebreakers, improving socialization for people with vision impairments. This is according to Guide Dogs for Visually Impaired and Blind People, published by Living Blind. So how does it work? Seeing eye dogs are taught intelligent disobedience. This means that when an owner wants to cross the street, for example, that they will not obey the owner if it's not safe to do so. They're also taught to locate objects and empty places to sit, to avoid obstacles, and to remember frequented routes. They bring their own peace of mind. Many Americans live with PTSD. With the war on terror, there's even more living with it. And you better not break this. So there's even more living with PTSD today. PTSD service dogs are able to benefit their owners in a way that medication has not been able to. 26 million Americans live with diabetes, and the current trends 1 in 3 will. And since continuous glucose monitors are often inaccurate, it's important to explore gentle treatments for service dogs. And with rises in the increase of percent for people living with vision impairments, seeing eye dogs are able to benefit their life and give them a better quality of life. Service dogs are able to benefit people living with multiple disabilities, and not every disability is invisible. It's important for you if you're going to work anywhere in the United States, because the Americans with Disabilities Act protects the right of them to use service dogs in any establishment. So you need to recognize it. Just because someone doesn't look disabled doesn't mean that their service dog isn't benefiting them in some way. Roger Karras, the former ASPCA president and distinctive voice of the annual Madison Square Garden Dog Show in New York City, said dogs are not our whole life, but they make our lives whole. Thank you very much.
Good job.
No, it wasn't good job. That was pretty bad. Actually, but I got through it.
I ain't really using it.
I know, because I keep forgetting to cue you.
Doing that is really obvious.
Yeah. So how do I cue him without making it obvious?
What?
How do I cue
You can't, they have to be note cards, you can't like write on these so that he can, when you turn, he turns.
Oh, I'm using that first.
Put something on the back, a dot or something on the back, so that when he sees the dot flip, he knows to flip the.
That's a good idea.
She won't, you don't get mad if she sees it?
Let him rub your foot until you hang on.
But